on. How do I get back to the Zoom here?
There's Raf.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay. Cool. I think I'm live on YouTube, but no one can see us just yet.
Cool.
Okay, so seems like everyone's mic's working. We just need to let Raf in.
Hello, sorry, let me just get my earphones. I think it's going to be better. I'm trying to set it up on my computer, but our Wi-Fi is still down.
Oh, no.
So it's a bit of a disaster. I'll try.
SHAWCO talk for the internship series. I'm gonna try change over the YouTube live stream as well. So yeah, we've got 4 fantastic doctors with us this evening, who none of whom have had technical difficulties, I promise. They're all, as you can see in the shared screen in front of you, and I think we're looking forward to it. Yesterday's talk went really well, so no pressure to our speakers tonight, but we're really excited. Tonight we've got a few pictures, so they've already one-upped yesterday's speakers. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. Hopefully everyone on YouTube can see what's going on. Sorry to everyone in Zoom if I look away. There's a screen over here that tells me what's going on YouTube. But yeah, so if the YouTube people could please message and say whether they can see or hear us, that would be great. We've got a message already saying, Gauta, we miss you, my sexy man. So things are working. Excited for tonight. Things are obviously going to be casual based on that start. The order that we've decided is to let those who have load shedding go first. So I believe Kira is going to kick us off. I have a little bio to let everyone know. So where is that? So Dr. Kira Dusterwald is a second-year intern at the Port Elizabeth Hospital complex. She is the previous head of SHAWCO Research and Publications and a MOLMed student, a B-Med Science Honours with a Master's in Neuroscience. Her life plans include doing a PhD in computational neuroscience and climbing good boulders. So, looking forward to hearing from Kira about her time as an intern and current time as an intern at Port Elizabeth Hospital complex. So we're going to hand over to Kira now.
Ooh, thanks, Josh. Okay, I think I should be able to share screen.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just shout, obviously, if there's any connectivity issues. We have load shedding, so I look like a ghost, which also might just be because I haven't seen the sun for a while because I've been isolating. But yeah, so I'm Kira. I was part of the MassiCom and Massi team for the longest time, and it is the best. And I'm still lurking on their WhatsApp group, and I have no regrets about that. I'm currently a second year in PE, as I said. So I'm going to chat to you about PE and why you should consider it for internship. Maybe. So yeah, just to go through like the basics. So PE is a complex hospital. That means there's a couple of different hospitals that make up internship here. The main ones you'd spend time at are Livingston and Dora. Provincial is kind of like a quaternary hospital you don't see very often, but it is down the road from the doctor's quarters. And Uitenhage used to be a separate internship option, but since this year has been incorporated in PE, because it's also part of Nelson Mandela Bay, so you would spend some time there as well. One thing that's important to know about PE is that our departments are kind of spread between the hospitals. So you'll spend some time at a hospital that only does OBS and peds, and some time at a hospital that only does medicine and surgery. It's a bit bizarre, but it kind of works sometimes. In terms of academics, I'd say PE is pretty decent. It's at least got seniors. You don't call alone. There's usually an MO with you somewhere. Unless you're calling in Uitenhage, then you might call in casualty. Otherwise, you get to call in the specialty that you're doing, which is always a plus, I think, because you learn a lot on call. And there's like a little bit of teaching. I mean, internship overall is not really about like being taught lots of things, I think. So, but just to mention, it does happen when there isn't COVID. And yeah, the departments, most of them are happy to let you take leave once or twice a year to do like a course, which is also always a plus. And there's a couple of courses that do run in PE as well. Here's some things that I didn't think about when I was applying for internship, which have actually ended up being super important, so worth considering. So for us, the interns make the call rosters, which means we can respect people's weekend and other requests. This is like life-changing. It just means that you have a little bit more flexibility, and when you don't have a lot of control over your hours, it's quite nice to know when you're going to work a lot, at the very least. So I can also say then, so I do the rosters for my group. This year, we've done like 7 months of rosters. On average, people have worked 12 or 13 weekends. So that's like a little bit less than two a month. That obviously does depend on the department, but at least you can get like an idea that it's not so bad. At least we can try and like stick to having less than 80 hours. It's not always possible, but when it is an issue, you kind of split it among the interns at least. So that's cool. At the moment, they're allocating leave for first years, but you can motivate if you want leave at a specific time. That's also really important. Like it's important to be able to have your off time when you want it. The doctor's quarters are nice. I'll show you some pictures. And PE's got like a really great social environment. Interns really look after each other. We're like a good team, and we hang out and stuff. And that's also something that isn't the case in all places, especially like bigger cities. So something worth considering if you're keen for that. Okay, so so this is PE essentially. It's really small compared to Cape Town. I noticed this considerably. Other people seem to have different opinions, but they come from like Bloemfontein. So yeah, you have to take it into account. So just to kind of orientate you, this is doctor's quarters. That's where I am now. There's probably about 100 or more doctors who stay here, as well as OTs, physios, pharmacists. You can choose your roommates if you want to in advance. If you're married, you can stay together. That like adds a lot of flexibility. And here's kind of some idea of what it looks like. The doctor's quarters are a little bit old, and you're not really supposed to modify them. But they're spacious, and you can get like the basics if you don't have them, like a bed and stuff, even if it's for a short period of time. It's also fairly safe. It's not like in the safest place in town, but there's been very few incidents, and you can park safely and stuff. So obviously, besides doctor's quarters being cheap, that is a plus, especially when you're moving and you're not sure if you want to move somewhere later. But most people just stay here. There are just a lot of cockroaches, but otherwise it's good. Use from the doctor's quarters. It's really quite a nice place to be, and it's great to have people around to bring you food when you're in isolation and so on. Then hospitals. Okay, so Dora is kind of supposed to be like a regional hospital. It's probably about like a 15 to 20 minute drive, but there just isn't that much traffic in PE, so it's very chilled. When I first went to Dora, I was told that I was told to watch out because the goats would climb my car to get to the leaves and the trees. This hasn't happened, but there are a lot of goats, and I have seen like various other animals in Dora, and I really like to take photos of them. I'm a huge fan of Dora. It's a little bit strange. It's also not the safest. It has a lot of issues, but the staff have a lot of heart, and you learn a lot from Dora. So this is where you would do peds and obstetrics primarily. You actually spend more time here than anywhere else. Probably about like half of your time would be at Dora. Also FAMED is based here. That's another story. But anyway, it has, like the usual problems, like x-rays don't work. They haven't worked for about 2 months. Like actually being able to see them on a computer anywhere, among other things. But there's a lot of heart. I mean, there's a peds ICU, there's a neonates ICU here. They do a lot of stuff. Then Livingston's around about that area. It's a little bit closer. It's kind of like your main hospital. Sorry, I had to cover people's faces because I didn't ask them if they wanted to be on YouTube, and I felt bad. The girl in the other photo I did ask. So Livingston, especially like surgery, internal, those sort of things will be done there. It's supposed to be like the main hospital. They're trying to move everything there, but you'll see like departments here are great. There's some managing issues. I've been doing a lot of porting lately. I've gotten really good at like moving those beds up and down. It's wild. So that's Livingston. As you can see, like interns make things fun. I mean, like on Christmas, you can like hand out stuff to children, whatever. And there's a couple of photos just to like remind me. There's a really nice little secret garden at Livingston. Like you can find some fun little things. Someone brought me a snake last year when their kid got bit. And then I tried to identify it. That was a mess. And also, so like there's a couple of courses that run at Livingston. One of them is basic surgical skills. A lot of departments will let you do that. So that's quite nice to know. There's also an ICU course that runs at Livingston. Livingston's got a good ICU. And there's like a couple of other courses you can do in PE. But more importantly, so I haven't put Uitenhage and Provincial here. Provincial is like quite near to the doctor's quarters, but I haven't been there at all. You sometimes go there if you do like a urology rotation while you're in surgery, or if you go there for anesthetics, but mostly not really a place we hang out at. And Uitenhage is pretty far away. It's like probably half an hour away, which is something to bear in mind, because you will have to rotate a fair bit there if you come to PE from now. You also may have to rotate at the Volkswagen Hospital, the field hospital for COVID. But anyway, that's like not finalized, so I'm gonna leave it out for now. Yeah, so the Massey Pete said it would be useful to kind of break down the departments. So I'm gonna do that. I'm sorry if it's very academic. I'll get to the fun stuff. So yeah, medicine mostly based at Livingston, as well as the other hospitals. It's quite irregular. Mostly your days are quite fine. You're usually in a firm with a consultant and MOs. So you've got quite a lot of support, but you can also make a lot of independent decisions. So when you're on call, you work with an MO, but like if you know what you're doing, you can pretty much do it and then just ask your MO for help. The one thing that is worth knowing for internal, I really loved my time in internal. I learned a lot. They kind of split your calls, and they're trying to do this more and more. So you might be on call from like 8 until 2, then have a break, and then come back at 8 p.m. But this means that you sometimes have quite late post calls. And yeah, that can be quite an impact. Things are changing a lot with COVID as well, obviously, as well. So most of our hospitals, as I'm sure you'll know, are split into RESP and non-RESP sides. That also impacts that. Surgery, everyone loves surgery. The firms are great. You can often leave early if you're in a great firm, but you also get good on-call experience. So SOC kind of is our surgery on-call, is also like a kind of trauma unit. The interns pretty much run SOC while your seniors are in theatre. If there's a recess, you call them. Works well. You get to learn everything that you would need to know in an acute trauma situation, which is really vital. And they're pretty strict on us leaving by 10 in the morning. Well, the interns are, which works fine. Everyone loves it. It's a lot of fun. If you want to cut, you can cut. If you don't, they don't. There are also some specialized surgical things that people rotate in, like urology, cardiothoracics, and ped surge, but it's usually only 1 or 2 people. It's kind of a bit of luck of the draw, but you can try and ask if you're particularly something. So I happened to go to ped surge. It was a lot of fun, but also a lot more independent because their department's very small. So it's a little bit more hectic in a way with very late days. Obstetrics, so that's based at Dora mostly. There's some time at Uitenhage, which is a little bit more independent. Most of the time when people go to Uitenhage, it's a bit more like on your own, as they're more district. Obstetrics, yeah, so I really didn't do much in labor ward at all when I was there last year. This year they have tried to change that a little bit more, so you get a bit more experience. I didn't struggle to get my C's at all, but I wouldn't say I came out of obstetrics as a stellar like obstetrician. So I'll just leave it at that. Peds can be quite busy. There's quite a lot of responsibility. This is mostly at Dora. So for example, when you're in neonates, you're pretty much the person on call for all baby resusces and theatre and everything. That said, the MO is always a call away, pretty much for all these departments. The MO is a call away, which means that you can really see how much you can do and know that you have support when you need it. Ortho, pretty much fine. It's depends on how busy it is, but it's pretty chilled. Anesthesia is pretty much standard across the country. There's a test at the end of block, and you get pre-call, which is kind of nice. And you always have an MO somewhere. FAMED I don't think is nice anywhere. FAMED can be tough. You work in shifts. Yeah, and then psych I haven't done, but I hear it's quite nice. So overall, most of the departments are really nice. Mostly you won't leave post-call later than 10. The exceptions are medicine, and then because of their funny splits, and also Uitenhage, sometimes people leave quite late post-call. And Uitenhage is a bit more of a challenge in terms of working in casualty and making a lot of decisions without as much support as you have in the other departments. But I think what's useful about this experience is that in general, you're able to make decisions and learn everything you would think you need to know for internship. Like you want to come out of internship being comfortable with making decisions, knowing how to put in chest drains and all of that as well. But you've got support, so you make sure that you kind of do the right thing. Yeah. Okay, so that was mostly the academic-y side, which I guess is what I thought of when I was looking for internship spots. But honestly, I don't think it matters all that much. What really matters is that you're in a place where you have support and you have like cool stuff to do outside of being an intern. So why is PE useful for this? Like there's loads of places nearby where you can travel to for weekends when it's not COVID. And escape to, and people really make a huge use of this. So I put a lot of them there. It's also, let me just try to remember what I was trying to. Yeah, so there's also like decent restaurants, nice places to be, and like the things that I've really found great. So right next to the doctor's quarters is like a really nice valley where I've been able to run and like hike, and there's lots of spots nearby as well where I can do that. I've taken up bouldering, rock climbing at the local like rock climbing gym, which is also like 5 minutes away. When bouldering, rock I don't know, at the local like rock. I'm getting some feedback from somewhere. I don't know where. Anyway, it's my own voice, which is awful. But also the airport's like literally 5 minutes away, which is really useful in the first few months of internship. It's really nice to know that you can fly home when it's not COVID or drive home, or whatever. That makes it different. And then it's the sea. So I started doing like a diving course. Loads of things. And I think this is important. So people have interns, which is cool. Like there's lots of like religious groups, lots of other things. And PE is a lot smaller than Cape Town in a way, but it's got like a lot of potential and you can kind of find your niche. And all of that's really important. And what's nice is also, I think a lot of the MOs and seniors here kind of also believe that that's important. So I think like don't underestimate your free time as an intern, because it's like really where you want to be able to relax and like figure out things, I guess. Yeah, so I guess my conclusion, having done like 18 months of internship, is it probably wouldn't have mattered really where I went in terms of skill set and stuff. Like internship is regulated because it's supposed to make it level for everyone. Like you're supposed to get a certain minimum standard of stuff done, and you're supposed to do that with like some form of supervision. I think it seems to be useful to be somewhere where you can be taught like the right thing and where there is someone who knows a little bit more than you kind of easily available to show you. But yeah, generally the hospitals are supposed to be fine. What is important is that you have a place where you like feel that you can explore and like have fun and just enjoy life outside of the hospital, wherever that might be for you. I think that's really important. I guess now like COVID is obviously a reality, and I'm sure you've heard a lot about Eastern Cape and COVID, or maybe you haven't, I don't know. It is a bit of a mess. There's a lot of management issues. I suspect the rest of the country might have similar issues besides the Western Cape, unfortunately. What I will say from an internship point of view, they haven't tried to disrupt our rotations. They have asked us to like give extra hands in COVID areas and potentially in the new COVID hospital, but not so that it disrupts the rotations we're supposed to be doing. And the individual departments have really shown like good team spirit in terms of getting things done. It's just that there's so much other management stuff that has issues for us that kind of seeps down. And it is a huge load for any hospital to have. So that's just something to bear in mind. But if you're in a hospital that has sufficient depth so that at least like the senior general department can be dealing with this, that's probably ideal. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that. And then, yeah, I guess I really felt like going to SHAWCO was useful for internship in a way, just so that I was slightly more confident about making decisions and because I knew how to use EM guidance. And I really loved my master's time. So if you guys get a chance to ever go back to SHAWCO, please go to me. Yeah, I'm happy for people to ask any questions or to email me questions. yeah.
Thank you so much, Kira. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, sorry, I was muted there. Thank you so much, Kira. That was fantastic. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to just unmute yourself in Zoom and say what you'd want to say. Otherwise, I'll be reading the YouTube comments and I'll relay those questions there. So yeah, any questions? We have a quiet group today. Let's see, in YouTube? No. Kira, I think you answered. Oh wait, here's one from Brad. In the chat, he said, "Do you guys general find yourself knowing people who aren't interns?" Brad,
I think I know what he means.
Okay.
I assume you mean like, do you hang out with people that aren't interns? So it obviously depends. Some people do like to just hang out with other interns or healthcare professionals. So and that is an option. So there's like a social group. There's like a social committee, which essentially organizes stuff, which is actually really great. So like there's like, usually COVID has disrupted all of this, but usually there's like a weekend in J-Bay and a weekend in Kenton, and like hikes and like fun events like quizzes, pub quizzes and stuff, and socials and mixes and whatever. Because like there's a lot of and that's interns and other healthcare professionals and PE essentially, although it was anyway, and other people sometimes. But outside of that, like I know a lot of people have other friends. So some people obviously already have friends here. I've like made friends through climbing. People in PE are friendly as the stereotype says they are. It's also very windy. That's also a stereotype. That's true. So it's definitely possible to make friends with other people, even if you live in the doctor's quarters. Yeah, and I mean, I also know people who have friends from like running groups. There's like a lot of activities. So through that, people tend to kind of branch out a little bit more, which is always nice. And I mean, there's a university here, so that's a plus.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've got 2 more questions for you.
I see questions.
YouTube.
I'll answer them.
Oh wait, here we go.
Was Livingston your first choice? Yeah, Livingston was my first choice. In terms of competitive, so most people I speak to or have spoken to in first year, it does seem like Livingston was their first choice, and very often it's like social compacted as well. So it does seem fairly competitive. But I obviously don't know for sure. That's just the impression I get. Are there any sharing rooms in doctor's quarters? So the doctor's quarters are basically set up. There are 3-person flats, 2-person flats, and bachelor flats. It's quite hard to get a bachelor flat, but it is possible. The flats are big. I mean, my flat is 3 people. We've basically got 2 lounges. We've got 2 bathrooms. One of them is an ensuite, so one person has an ensuite bathroom. Kitchen's really massive. So yeah, that's kind of nice. And then like if you know someone or want to live with someone in particular, you can organize that. The admin sometimes takes a bit of time, but it does work. I've just started recycling, like a recycling group here, so that's also great. So anyway, so the doctor's quarters I definitely reckon are decent. You just have to put a little bit of like effort into them, but you're paying so little, it's totally worth it. Cool. I think that's the only questions I have.
I've got a question from you from YouTube. It says, someone wrote here, Dora Nginza has been in the news a lot lately about how the departments are being run. Could you comment more about it? I'm not quite sure what they're referring to. Do you know what they mean?
Yeah, I do know what you're referring to. I don't want to say that much. Like, I realize this is on YouTube, so I don't want to get into trouble for anything that I say.
We can skip it. It's fine.
Well, I think what I just will say briefly is that, so like a lot of the politics that are going on is like COVID exacerbated, but there are like obviously politics that exist on the everyday. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's complicated. Maybe you can private email me rather.
Okay, I'll I'm gonna, for everyone watching, I'm gonna, all the speakers consented to having their email addresses shared so that you can message them your questions after. Okay, cool. Kira, thank you so much. Lots of comments on YouTube saying that was such a thorough presentation. I think we're obviously missing our slideshows because we haven't got any with online lectures. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So we're going to move on to our next presenter. If I can just pull up my bio here. Well, not mine. But I must also say that this is probably my favorite bio that I was sent. Next speaking is Dr. Amy Patterson. Her short biography is Big Dog Fan. And that was all I got. Otherwise, she said, likes pina coladas and getting caught in the rain, unless it's body fluids, typically has just under half a brain, when waking up at midnight to put in another chest drain. So, my absolute favorite, Amy is an intern at Addington Hospital, and I'm going to hand over to her now to present. Cool.
My name is Amy. My screen. At the Gandhi complex in Durban, KZN. And I'm going to admit that I initially asked if I could use a PowerPoint presentation because I was going to be post-call, and I didn't want to subject you to having to fill 15 minutes while I convinced you that internship is a good time. Post-call, and wasn't sure I'd speak sense for minutes. But then when it came to actually making the presentation that I thought was a really good idea, was 200 boards. So that, yeah, apologies for that. Start explaining more or less where these hospitals are. So you can see bit on the next slide, Addington South Beach in Durban, and there are quite a few hospitals here. So King Edward is there. I think Amy Booth's going to speak on that, and then there's RK Khan and there's Prince Mshieni. There are a lot of options. And so just talking about Addington quickly. So Addington is a regional and district hospital. It was established in 1967. And I can tell you that the only thing that's been painted since then is the fancy wall outside that you saw in the first slide. And it is a 600-bed hospital, and it's just off South Beach. As I said, it's next to a surf riders, which is quite famous place where you can hire a lot of surfboards and skateboards, and has quite a lot of activities. And it's a 15-floor hospital. The lifts typically don't work, so it is a lot of walking, but there are really good views. And so if your main aim in internship discovery points, this is probably the hospital for you. And specific to the hospital, Wonga users in cases.
Sorry to butt in.
Yeah.
Would you mind turning off your video and carry on sharing the slides? I think your connection is a little choppy.
No problem.
Let's see if that helps.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, that seems better. Let's
Sorry.
go. Sorry to cut you off there.
Just let me know, did you miss anything? Do I need to repeat anything?
No, I think people can't believe it's 15 floors. They think that's going to be quite something on the calves. But otherwise, I think we caught it all. Thanks. Cool.
Yeah. Regional and district hospital. Much newer. It's a single floor, and it's very open plan with lots of light. It's in Phoenix, which is close to KwaMashu and Umhlanga, and a little bit more north, and it is much smaller. So how the completely different from Pietermaritzburg or from PE, in that you basically get allocated as an Addington, you will do everything including fan med at Addington. And then if you are allocated as a Gandhi intern, you still come to Addington for surgery, anesthetics, orthos, and psych. So that's kind of how it works, because it's slightly smaller, but you'll do everything else at Gandhi. And so you can put in requests with reasons why you'd like to be at one or the other. So also in the background somewhere, but you can't see him, he, requested Gandhi. It has really good internal med and peds teaching, and he got that. And yeah, both of my house Gandhi. This is, can I go to the next slide? That's currently what my housemate looks like, sorry. And I really like that as well. That is my other housemate. During her rotation at Addington, she joined us for surgery. So that's kind of how it works. Yeah. So just as far as the pros are concerned for Addington and Gandhi, so they're both within Durban and very well positioned. So they're very easy, safe drive. There's lots of really places to live. Durban in general is really affordable. You can, yeah, if you choose not to live in the DQs, you can easily afford to stay kind of either side of Durban, and it's a reasonable drive. Durban and KZN are really nice outdoor culture, and we found that people are really friendly, and is really well go out and eat lunch on the beach and during breaks, or if things aren't busy. So those pictures there that you'll see, that's during a surgery call. We were watching sunrise, and then that's my colleague needed to go to trauma, and photo is really close as well. And driver light. That's really convenient. And the is really nice. Your free time free, and you don't have to study. Last picture is just me being very excited that I could afford. Yeah. All year round, the water is really warm, and there's lots of potential friends to run hospital, and there's a lot. I don't know, it seems like you can't, and yeah, I did popular as I would think it should be. And then just in terms of work-life balance, I think the middle ground. So we will work our full hours. And so you will work in 8 to 4, but you typically will finish by that time. Occasionally have early days. You'll work busy calls, but it's a reasonable number of calls. And like Kira was saying, we do make our call rosters ourselves, and we also choose our own leave slots, which is a big deal. And yeah, so you do definitely still have a life. And our on-call rooms are another big highlight. And so cornered off for interns, and there's a lounge, and everyone kind of hangs out there if they're not busy, and they're really good sunrise, and you can choose either your own room or a shed, and so you spend a lot of time there, so it makes quite a big difference. Really nice. And yeah, and still think that's probably true. And then just as far as the actual work stuff is concerned, so there is pretty good supervision, and there are consultants and regs and MOs in every department. And the hospital is very much intern run. So those people are there for supervision. So you will be expected to do the work, and then you can consult them, but there is always someone you can ask if you're not sure. That supervision varies. So some of it is incredible and they love teaching, and then some of it is chronic MOs where you have advice, or it might be different from what you've learned. So that can be tricky. As far as exposure is concerned, I think being a regional and a district hospital is quite nice in that you see all the community a lot, and you also get to see some more interesting things while waiting to transfer them, or if we can handle them. And so you can to be. And then as far as it's really good. So very much do all the procedures and see can will oversee you procedures and make sure that you're comfortable with them. So by the end, you'll be very comfortable with chest drains and very comfortable with CVPs and very comfortable with PED strips and various others. You do quite a bit in the NICU as well. And then there is pretty good cutting time. So I got to do a lot of few trauma laps, which was very cool. And yeah, and then you'll easily sections and probably additional, and they also have ultrasound skills, etc. And then we have really good health professionals. It is teaching in every department. I think as isn't the focus of internship, but it is really nice. So we do have presentations both by the seniors and by other interns. And then in PEDS, we also go to King Edward to get teaching there. And yeah, and then at Addington, a big plus is that we have a really wonderful obs and gynae department. And so I would say come to Addington if you really like gynae, but maybe also come to Addington if you really, really don't like gynae, because also really mess up your internship is a rough block. And so we have consultants who are hiring and really involved. And I think that changes the on the floor. So that one picture is just our Secret Santa party, a spa day that they took us on. And then just to say with this picture, same as Kira, there is time to do special courses. So that was a BSS course. You can also do ATLS, APLS, and you do get time with things. And then, as I said, internal medicine at Gandhi has a really wonderful head of department and really good teaching. And then both hospitals is a lot of casualty and trauma and ward time versus clinic time. So depending on what you want, that's probably what you're going to get. You hardly go to clinics at all. Those are just some of the common things that you're going to see and probably be comfortable with. And then the cons. So this might not look like a con, but this was during surgery and we're having ward round on the promenade. But the reason is because our hospital was on fire. And so there are a lot of infrastructure problems. And then, as I said, it's 15 floors. You're going to walk a lot, you're going to be tired. And then it is a city. So I warned that about safety quite a bit before I came, but I've actually felt really definitely more so town of the hospital. But you do have to walk a bit to get to your car, and you do end out soon. And then this is just to say that there definitely are the rough calls and days, and that was a very bad Easter Friday. And I don't know if it's reassuring that actually what was a family member who got upset and smashed his arm through a window and then severed his brachial artery. Yeah. And then these are sterile gloves, and fingers are this. Use them. So there's just quite a few stock issues. Blood gas machine often doesn't work, stuff like that. But you really learn to work around it and stock your bag up. Just to say that I think COVID-19 has revealed flaws in our hospital management, as I think it has in a lot of, and so that is a kind of realized before COVID, really. But there are big issues there. So just, I don't think I could have asked for anything more from my internship, except for maybe more teaching during my internal med, or just more supervision. But that said, I think that taught me how to read for myself and taught me a lot of independence and gave me a lot of confidence in the end. And then maybe just, but that has also taught advocacy. And that my housemates and I sat down the other day about the biggest lesson that we've taken away from internship. And I think that it was definitely that you have to pick your battles. So basically, I think you see a lot of injustice. Sick and are treated when they do get sick, and in how preventable a lot of the disease is. And I think you are going to want to fix all of it if you have anything in you that we have in all of us. And I think that's a beautiful and an important thing to observe. But if you do try and put yourself into everything, I think often you have nothing. And humble yourself first, and understand that there are people who've been in the system a long time, and you don't always know why things are the way they are or why the problems exist. What you really can't accept, and choose those few things that you're okay, and then try and make small changes to that. So whether that's printing an information leaflet or making a smoother referral system or offering protocol, organizing a stock room, and things that you actually can attain and can do. Otherwise you could get very disheartened. And then this is just something that someone showed at a SHAWCO talk I went to on internship. Really helped me during internships. I'm going to quickly share it with you, but this is a patient list, and you've come in on a weekend, and you're hoping to leave by 3 p.m. because your family's come to visit and you really want to see them, and you basically have your tasks laid out, and the that they're going to give you, the thing is really heavy, and they don't consider that you may have to walk 15 floors. So another piece of advice: don't carry that thing with you. And also, yes, but essentially, these are your patients, and you are trying to get your work, and then BT, and you really in Mr. Edie's family that's come in, and you have to speak of work you didn't expect, and it is 2 p.m. and you've only ticked off 4 things from your list. Then you get called by the nursing staff to say that Mr. FD was gasping and has now passed away, and you need to go and notify. And so you go, and about 6 women do an ECG. The only ECG was on the first floor, and the lifts weren't working. And also discussing with Albert Lutuli for dialysis when they never answer their phone. And what you're going to feel in that moment, I think at some stage, is just relief you're going to leave the house, and that you don't have to do. And I think to do this when you feel in those moments, to realize that that doesn't make you the terrible person you feel like. Our system is, and you are going to care again, and you are to have time. And I think you don't not care, you're just really tired, and you need to be able to forgive yourself for that. And yeah. And yeah, which is really helpful. And then these are all my excessive sunrise photos that I don't have time for, and also my list of reflections that I've made on it that we also don't. Just to emphasize 3 of them. Number 11, all frustrating family members will leave at 4 p.m. That has been helpful to keep in mind sometimes. And number 14, you're never the only one having a rough day. Internship is hard. Then so that's everything, and you're welcome to all. Yeah. See you here soon. And now I'm going to try. Cool.
Thank you so much, Amy. That list at the end was, I think I've seen that list before. Is that the Instagram list that you posted a while back?
The same one, yeah.
I think that's fantastic. I'm going to ask if you could send your PowerPoint to me so that I can share that with everyone. I think the one you sent to me, didn't want to display. But thank you so much. I think you've got a question in chat here. They asked, where did you say the internship diary planner was from?
Discovery give it to you at the end of your, I think, as like a marketing voice, you get all these fancy internship tools, including a diary. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And then there's another question here from Clementine. Do you know where the second year interns next year will go for the 6 months of family medicine?
So our 4 months of family medicine, we essentially do 2 months of casualty, 1 month of trauma, and 1 month of psych. And as far as I've heard, they're pretty much going to keep that the same, because we are staff in casualty and trauma. And we pretty much see all with the MO. So we're going to keep that the same. And then they might just add like a month of MOPD or something like that. I think you will still be at Addington, definitely, and casualty time.
Okay, cool. There's another message here in chat. I don't know if you can see that one from Jordan.
I can't see the messages at the moment.
Okay.
I'm trying to sort that out.
They said, what would be reasons to substantiate why you should be placed at Addington or MGMH?
So mates gave was wanting internal medicine and experience, and knowing that there's really good consultants at internal, or having someone who you're going to share lifts with to go there, who's already there. Addington, if you're in good experience, or I guess transport limitations is also something you could probably put down. And yeah, I think those are the main reasons I've heard of. I don't know if you always get it if you request, but the people who have requested that I've heard of have got their asked for.
Cool. Awesome. I don't think there are any other questions. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Yeah, such a fantastic presentation. And again, so chuffed that we had another PowerPoint here. Speakers today are really outdoing yesterday's speakers. We might have to have a word. So our next presenter, let me pull up her bio. So Dr. Rafaela Burkamaboma is a German-South African junior doctor who graduated from UCT in 2019. She is currently a very happy first-year intern at Grace Hospital Complex in Pietermaritzburg. She has a particular interest in obstetrics and gynecology, surgery, inclusive and intersectional healthcare, family planning, as well as medical education and content creation. Besides work, she enjoys being outdoors, reading, taking photos, finding dogs to pet, and when not in lockdown, traveling and going out for brunch. So if we could all welcome silently through Zoom, Raf to present to us.
Thanks so much, Josh. Can you hear me? Is it fine?
Got it.
Great. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Rafaela or Raf. I'm currently, as Josh said, a first-year intern here in Maritzburg. So that's Grace Hospital Complex. For those of you who've had to brave the ICSP site, that's what we're listed as. It's so funny because I can remember being in second year and going to the SHAWCO internship talk, and now I'm one of the interns talking, which is just bizarre to me. So apparently I am currently a junior doctor, which sometimes does shock me. So I'm just going to pull up my very basic in comparison PowerPoint. Let me just do that. Yeah, so that I think, well, I'm just going to chat while I'm trying to work with technology, which doesn't go very well for me. So basically is it showing up? Wait, there we are. Is it showing up now?
Yay! I can hear you.
That's it. It's working now.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. So basically, the first thing to know about Maritzburg is that it's a complex. So let me just back up. It's a complex. So there's basically, you work at 3 different hospitals. The first hospital is Grays. I unfortunately don't have an outside picture. So instead I've got very useful pictures of the trees you can see from inside the hospital. So Grace Hospital is a tertiary hospital. It has specialist level care. So there are, like colorectal surgery, for example, and cardiology and internal medicine. But we have a quaternary hospital in Durban. So we send our patients to Nkosi Albert Lutuli. So it is quite academic as well. We do also have, very excitingly, have got working computers at Grace. Then the other hospital we work at is Edendale. It's a regional level hospital. You actually do get rural pay at Edendale. It's about a 15-20 minute drive outside the center of Maritzburg, I'd say. So it's a regional hospital. There are registrars and consultants there as well. And the reason for rural pay is directly proportional to the number of cows you pass on your way to Edendale. But it is still, there's like a mall right next to the hospital. So it's not rural in the traditional sense of the word. And then Northdale Hospital is the other hospital. I have not rotated there, so I instead offer a picture of Maritzburg instead. And that's a district hospital, so mostly with MO runs and everything like that. Not a few consultants, but yeah. So you will actually spend the bulk of your time at Edendale Hospital, which is great for exposure to regional level care and also, but you do also get exposure to all different levels of care, which I think is such an advantage, especially in internship. There are doctor's quarters at Grace and Edendale. If you are looking for doctor's quarters, it depends which one is your pay point as to which one is your DQ. So that's just another thing to note. Then in terms of working at Maritzburg, so I can honestly say it's so like quite dorky to say, but I love my job. I love what we get to do. I love working in Maritzburg. Obviously, I've got nothing to compare it to, but yeah, this year has so far been fantastic despite the horror that 2020 has been. I will say working in Maritzburg, there is such a good balance between supervision and independence. So you've got great senior cover as well, and there is teaching, but you do also get to do things by yourself. You learn to manage patients for yourself. So it's not like So even at grades, which is tertiary, you don't get, you do get a good sense of independence. You're not constantly watched over, but it does come with a balance of academics with consultant cover and things like that, and teaching. So I will say that that's a massive advantage as well. Honestly, we work with the most amazing doctors and sisters there. I've really met the most wonderful and hardworking people this year who really care about their patients as well. And I think another advantage to working here in Maritzburg, it's so well known for its internship program. We've got consultants who did their internship here still. So it's a really long-standing and well-established internship program, which I think is also a big advantage to being here. A lot of people also want to know about things like calls. So we're a massive group of interns. I think we're about 200. There's about 200 spots for interns. And the reason being is because we have a massive patient load, but also we're spreading ourselves out across 3 different hospitals. So for calls, you're never by yourself. You will always have a senior, and in almost, I'd say 90% of your rotations, you'll have another intern on call with you as well. Good senior supervision on calls, probably about 4 to 5 calls a month, because it depends and it varies, and we also sort out our own roster, but that's the advantage to having so many interns as well. And especially next year, there's a divide between first year rotations and second year rotations. So it'll be, so currently this year, just the second years are struggling a bit just because they don't have first years in SAM med and anesthetics, but that's not a problem to be faced in future. And on call, generally, you do have an on-call room. You have facilities to make food and stuff like that. And your post-call, they're quite strict about it. It's 10 o'clock. And everyone's looking out for you. So if you're hanging around at 11, your colleagues will generally be like, please go home and sleep, because you probably look like you need it. Or that's the usual case for me. And then I will also say, though, at Maritzburg, you do work hard. There is a significant patient load, and sometimes a system that is incredibly frustrating to work in. But honestly, work is amazing and wonderful from my experience so far. I'll speak with regards to that. Here's some evidence of how welcoming we are in Maritzburg. So GOPD offering everyone toilet paper on arrival. But generally speaking, when I got here this year, we had that's the downside to next year's interns, that first years there'll only be first years in your first year rotations. But this year, the second years were so helpful and welcoming. The doctors, the nurses are also really happy to help out. And everyone's just friendly and looking out for you. I found KZN to be ridiculously friendly, especially coming from Cape Town, to be honest. And everyone's very encouraging and looking out for you, as you see the sign reminding you not to eat or touch the rat poison. People are looking out for you at all times, not just to prevent you from eating rat poison, but looking out for you at work, looking out for you after work. I've had consultants come to me and ask me if some interns are doing okay and stuff like that. There's such a good culture of camaraderie and looking out for each other here, which is just really a blessing and needed at times as well. And also, to touch on something Amy said as well, there will be times where, whether it's the system you're working in or just a generally frustrating day, you need people on your side, you need that support. And I really think Maritzburg offers that. And like I said, there is a well-established culture of that here as well. And that's a really wonderful thing here. And then just generally speaking about internship, so I can only say good things so far about my internship experience. It's been a bizarre year. I mean, I don't think anyone would have bet we would have been in a pandemic in our first year of being medical professionals. But I think also what it's really made me realize is how important your free time is. So for the first time, you're not going home in the evenings having to do 20 write-ups, or in my case, pretending to go home and do 20 write-ups or pretending to study, but you actually have free time to do things. And I think whether you choose Maritzburg or not, I think that's something important to factor in, especially as medical people, sort of type A personalities. We're all kind of thinking about our careers. And whilst I think that's super important and relevant and obviously an important factor in your decision making, it's also the first time in your life where you're getting paid to do what you were doing as a sixth year. You've got time to do things. And I think that should factor into your decision making with regards to internship as well, and value that free time and, look after it as well. I think that's also important. I will say also with sometimes as an intern, you will feel much like these pictures. So those signs, fill up ping pong, are very useful signs put up around Edendale, and sometimes you will feel as helpful as those signs or as a diagnosis of a very severe disease or a discharge summary with a plan being demise. But as an intern here in Maritzburg, you can make a massive difference, unlike these signs, fade and jump, jump. Yeah, we're not sure what's going on there. But as an intern here, you are working by far the most hands-on with your patients out of all the doctors. You can really make a difference in your patients' lives. And yeah, I think that's also really great to do here, and especially with other interns you're working with as well. Yeah. And just in general, I will just say with regards to choosing internship, I think it's very much your choice, which I know sounds like a logical thing to say, but people will always have an opinion on where you decide to go. People always think they know better or for you. And I'll also say that you can be placed anywhere. That's the reality of the placement system, but it is honestly what you make of it. And yeah, I think definitely Maritzburg helps create a culture of making the best of your time in internship as well. And then besides work, which I've established that I do enjoy, but there's also elements of outside of work that are great. So this is my morning view, which I'm very, very lucky to have. But yeah, living in Maritzburg is also great. So it is a small town, I will say that. For those who don't know, it's about an hour and a half outside of Durban. It's inland between Durban and the Drakensberg. So you are smack bang between sea and mountain, which was a big factor to me choosing it. Everyone here is incredibly friendly. It's a small town and there's so many interns as well. So amazing sense of community. Yeah, and just a great sense of community within there. And there's also lots of people your own age, healthcare professionals, non-healthcare professionals as well. It is a small town. Well, I say small town, it's quite a big town, but it has everything you need. Like most of the shops, we do have a mall, which is not much to brag about, but at least it offers what it needs to. And Durban is close by enough that if you want to head to the sea or get to a bigger, I don't know what pavilion, I don't even know what the malls they are called, but Gateway, that's the one. I don't know, actually maybe not. Maybe if you can help me out here. But yeah, you can get to Durban, you can get to the sea there, do things in Durban over the weekends when it's not locked down. Yeah, and the airport's also an hour and a half away. So if you want to go home for the weekend or go for a wedding or something like that, it is close enough that you can drive after work on a Friday or post-call on a Friday or something like that as well. And other advantages, there's not much traffic, which is so great coming from Cape Town. And as Amy alluded to, much cheaper rent as well. Yeah, but also just honestly a very beautiful place to live and stay. So yeah, and just also great outdoor, like lots of outdoor activities to do. It's so stunning here. Both of these places are within the town, that the one with the lake pond thing is literally the view from one of the woolies, and the other is a forest that is 2 km from my house. So it's just absolutely stunning here as well. And if you love the outdoors like I do, it's really a special place. And then just continuing with the non-work life. So Maritzburg does have a reputation to it, of being a bit of like a jawling place, of being, yeah, has a certain reputation. You know, you will get asked, I've gotten asked if I came here just to have a jaw. And that reputation isn't unfounded. I mean, you putting 200 young people who have stressful jobs and work hard and stuff together. So there's a committee, a social committee who organizes like some events and some jaws and stuff like that. But honestly, there's just it's very socially supportive and it's very social. So even if your thing is, if you like me prefer to be in bed by 9:30 with your gown, there's so many other opportunities to hang out with people, to do things together. Yeah, so there's just a very good, both in a work and non-work sense, there's a really wonderful sense of community and social support, which I think is especially important in internship. Yeah, and your free time, as I said earlier, you want to be doing things you enjoy doing. So, and I've honestly made such, I mean, I've been here for 6 months, but I made such incredible friends and worked with incredible colleagues as well. So yeah, that's about all I have to say about what's great about Maritzburg. I don't know if anyone has any specific questions they'd like to ask. I didn't break it down as thoroughly as Kira did in terms of blocks. I can answer. Your exposure to what you need to know in internship is really good here as well. Like, I know friends who've done the internship here and gone on to ComServe and really well prepared. And I mean, the 2 blocks I've completed, I really do feel competent and feel that I've got an adequate training in it as well. So I think that's also, furthermore to the work element of it, is really great and important as well. Does anyone have any specific questions for me?
Raf, thank you so much. There are, am I muted? No. There are 1 or 2 questions for you. The first one is, what's the Obs and Gynae department like?
Oh, I love Obs and Gynae. So you do Obs and Gynae at all 3 of the hospitals. So Edendale, Grays, and Northdale. I spent 6 weeks at Edendale, which is consultant and registrars trained there as well. There's MOs, of course, as well. Really fantastic department, and they really do emphasize intern training as well. I'm not going to lie, there's a ward, which is our admissions or labor ward, that is, there's a separate labor ward, but it's like the pre-admission things where like elective Caesars and stuff wait as well. It's chaotic, but you learn to cope with all of the obstetric and gynae emergencies you need to face. I will comment on the fact that this year there was a bit of an issue with getting Caesars, and the reason was the biggest reason was we were actually too many interns. So because there was such a big amount of first years and then the second years who had to rotate through Obs and Gynae, which won't be a problem next year because it'll just be first years. There was a bit of an issue with some of us getting all of our Caesars, but the department itself they're trying to initiate new changes as well, and there's young consultants who are making a big difference. At Grays as well, it's a very well-run department, and Northdale, being a district hospital and mostly chronic MO run and stuff, does have its difficulties, but you will get good, really excellent training, and for the most part, your seniors are so great. So I was really worried about, I really wanted to enjoy my Obs and Gynae block, and I can say I really did, yeah.
Awesome. I think we've had a couple questions about DQ. Firstly, do you live in doctor's quarters? What are the conditions like? What's it like in relation to the hospital in terms of, how far is it from the hospital?
Sure. So I don't live in DQ myself. I've seen the Edendale DQ. I haven't seen the Grays DQ. So your DQ is doctor's quarters for those who don't know. So it depends on your pay point. So your pay point is either Edendale or Grays Hospital. That's assigned randomly. And then if you want DQ, if your pay point is Grays, you get Grays DQ, and Edendale, you get Edendale DQ. So the DQ is not, I mean, I've definitely seen better DQs, but I know people who are living there, it's definitely like, it's comfortable enough to stay in. A lot of people stay there for like the first 3-4 months and then move out. That's also a possibility. So the Grays one, so Grays and Northdale itself, sorry, I didn't mention this, and I didn't have a map either, which should have probably done. Grays and Northdale are actually within Maritzburg itself, very central to Maritzburg, whereas Edendale is a 15-20 minute drive in the Edendale area. It's like I said, you get rural pay and stuff there, but it's basically just outside of Maritzburg. But if you stay there, there are shops. Like I said, there's a mall next door. You are close enough to shops. Scottsville also has, which is a 5-10 minute drive from Edendale, so halfway between Edendale and Maritzburg, does have adequate shops and stuff. So DQ, I mean, I haven't actually stayed there. So if someone wants to send me an email, I can put you in touch with people who are actually staying there. But I mean, livable. I'll put it that way. Comfortably livable.
Cool. I think it's not a PMB specific question, and Amy and Gata have already commented, but what are the resources, apps and sites, etc., that you found useful getting through internship? I think everyone said EM Guidance is the way to go. So
Yes,
what else is there?
EM Guidance is just a godsend. I cannot emphasize it. Yeah, EM Guidance, definitely. Your hospitals, like, we get protocols and stuff sent to us as well, because there are some hospital-specific protocols sometimes that exist. So that's also something that is created. But yeah, EM Guidance, those Oxford books are also quite useful. The internal medicine one and the peds one, yeah. And those UCT obs and gynae lecture books and stuff, I use that a lot. And it's, guys, I know it's like, sometimes very wordy, but the UCT surgery textbook is fire. It's really like helpful actually, and it's exactly what you need to know. And then also teachmesurgery.com and teachmeobsandgynae.com. Sorry, I've only done those 2 rotations. I'm in internal medicine now. Great timing with COVID. But so I will say that those at the moment. I can also, those I'd recommend. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. We've got a ton of comments in the chat saying from everyone else with lots of other resources, so I'll link those, or I'll make sure that's available to everyone else. I'm just going to go with 2 more questions, and then we're going to have to chat. We're going to move on. From YouTube, they asked, was the transition from the way the Western Cape healthcare system is run to KZN, was that transition difficult?
It wasn't, I'll be honest, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I expected far more resource limitations, but yeah, Western Cape is the Beyonce of healthcare systems in South Africa. Like, it is. You realize you do have a bubble. Like, the first day, I remember the South African Blood Bank Service came to chat to us, and I was like, where's the KZN Blood Bank Service? Like, we've got the Western Cape one, and everyone was like, okay, that's Western Cape specific things. So, I mean, that sounds like a small thing, but it just goes to show that the Western Cape healthcare system runs in a completely different way to here. But you adapt so quickly, and it's really, I was actually pleasantly surprised by, it's more dependent on the people you work with than what you are given a lot of the times. I will comment on the fact that your patient load is definitely higher, like the healthcare worker to patient ratio is much higher. But it definitely, I didn't find it as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Cool. And then I think one last question here. Grays is quite a popular choice. Do you think the chances of actually getting Grays are quite slim?
No, so a lot of people you talk to, well, this is my experience, a lot of people you talk to will say, yeah, I'm applying to Maritzburg, but I'll be their 3rd or 4th or 5th choice. If you want Maritzburg, I definitely put it first, just because it is popular, but also there's a massive number of places available. So don't be too put off by, I think the whole thing of trying to play a numbers game when applying for internship, it makes sense if there's a very specific place you want to go to. So if you want to apply to other places for like a swap and stuff, but you can't predict, God knows how they figure it out, but you do get, it is ultimately, it's a numbers random allocation game at the end of the day, besides social compact things. So definitely put it first if you want to go there. But a lot of people will say they've applied there, but it won't be their first choice. So don't be put off by the fact that it's so to not apply there. Because I mean, most of the people I spoke to who applied here, it was their first choice. And I don't really know of many people who applied here, and only a handful that I only saw on those swapping groups that didn't get it as their first choice. So yeah, not impossible. I'm here. So.
All right. Thank you so much, Raf. We really appreciate it.
Sure.
That was fantastic. So like last night for everyone who was here, unfortunately, where I am, we have load shedding at 8 p.m. So I'm gonna be cheeky here and post a link in the YouTube chat. We have some spaces left for people to join, but it is going to be a race. So I'm sorry if you don't get the link, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. I will record everything and make sure that everyone can access it afterwards, because I know everyone wants to hear how Gouta's been doing, because we've had like 10 comments in the YouTube chat about it. So I will make it available. But here's the link. please don't crash the Zoom call. For everyone in Zoom, sorry about the technical difficulties here, but ESCOM is ESCOM, so we're just gonna have to do a swap around and let people join, if that's okay. It's filling up quite quickly though. Okay, who's unmuted themselves?
Yeah, but ESCOM crash the Zoom call.
Can everyone just in the Zoom call please mute?
Sorry about the technical difficulty.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna end the YouTube live stream now. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us there. I'm sorry about these issues. I'm hoping I can sort it out tomorrow so that we don't have any problems like this. But bye everyone on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining, and we will record this and upload it later so that